Hey guys, I'm Tyler and welcome back to another Learn the Logic series video, a series where I talk about stuff that I built and why I built it that way. Today we're going to talk about all of my shop dust collection piping. So before we get into the whys, I'd like to take you guys around the shop and show you where the dust collection pipe actually goes so you get a better understanding of what's going on. So right from the dust collector, which is in the back corner of my shop, it comes right out of the cyclone and branches into two separate systems. This is actually the main line, and this line is only for what's going to be the sanding station right here, which I only have my one tool there for the moment. And it can be continued on if I really need it, but at this time, I haven't even used that one, so I think we're pretty good. And then the main line branches down right here for the planer, and I do want to say that the heaviest tools, which I think are the planer, jointer, and table saw, are as close as I can possibly get them to the blower itself, especially the jointer and the planer. Those are some of the biggest chips that you can create in the shop. So the first drop right there is for the planer, and then it comes around the corner, and you can see I don't actually have a full 90 there, so it separates it out and gives you a little bit more radius, so hopefully you don't get too much stuff clogged. And then I drop down for the router table, which is a new addition to the shop. And then right over here to this little mess of angles for the jointer and the table saw. Jointer is right there, and then the table saw runs along the floor underneath. And I actually have another connection underneath there because at one point in time I was going to have a downdraft table in the table itself, but I ended up not building that idea. Maybe someday we'll get to that. And then I jump up into the ceiling, go all the way across the shop to what is now the miter saw station, dust hood right there. And then it goes around the corner, and that is a drop for the bandsaw and drill press. And from this point all the way around the shop to that point is roughly 40 feet, and I've never had an issue with the piping and this blower getting clogged up. So I usually ask things like, what did I solve by building this? But I think it's kind of obvious. I got dust collection drops at all of my stationary tools that I can quickly get to by switching these blast gates. And it is so awesome to have that capability in your shop. I cannot tell you how awesome it was when I first had it, going from tool to tool and just switching so quickly. And I've done a couple limited tool builds where I don't use the dust collection, and it is by far the biggest thing that I have missed in those builds. The active dust retainment at the tool itself makes such a big difference into the cleanliness of your shop and probably the cleanliness of your lungs. I didn't run into any issues installing this dust collection piping. It was a little bit tricky getting all the proper fittings, but really once I had them in here and was able to play around with them, it wasn't a big deal. The cost of the materials for this was probably about $250 just in piping. All of the plywood for the blast gates and the mounting brackets was made out of some scrap plywood that I had from the old workbench in the shop. All of the pipe and fittings are called sewer and drain PVC fittings. They are a lighter gauge than Schedule 40, much lighter and much less expensive. A 10-foot section of the sewer and drain PVC pipe runs about $7 compared to like 15 or 16. Or maybe even more than that for a Schedule 40, and it's much lighter, which is awesome. And then all the fittings are a drastically reduced cost compared to the Schedule 40 fittings. And quite frankly, you don't need the strength of Schedule 40 for a shop dust collection system. How did I go about assembling it? The blast gates are just pieces of plywood that sandwich a gate that you can slide in and out. You can check out a video I did probably 2 years ago about setting up this system if you want to see more about those blast gates. Also, these are based off of Jay Bates' design. If you would like to see how he went about designing them, and I think he has a SketchUp file you can download, hit up that link in the description down below. And the brackets, again, are just pieces of plywood that sandwich a spacing chunk of wood so you can get a screw in there and mount it to the wall. Almost all of the PVC in this system is not glued together. When I first put it in, I had no issues with the vertical drops, but I have added glue to most of those vertical drops because sometimes I would come down into the shop and a couple of these were laying on the floor. I just think the temperature swings cause the PVC to shift a little bit and just drop out, so not a big deal. I get quite a few questions about what is on the end of my pipes to interface to the flexible piping. This is actually what comes on the end of the sewer and drain PVC. So when I was finished with the piece that I had, I simply kept the drop section knowing that I was going to connect my flexible piping to this and it fits perfectly. And that is just a friction fit at this point. These flexible pipes are in 10-foot lengths, and I think I got all of them at Menards. You can save big money there. Oh man, I hate that ad in that store. But yeah, I got most of these at Menards. I think they run about $20 a piece, 10-foot section. They seem to work great. As for important dimensions, I think the most important one to keep in mind is that from the far end of the shop to the blower in my shop is over 40 feet, and I've never had an issue with it getting clogged up. So that could be encouraging for some of you guys that might have a bigger shop and are looking for a system like this and are debating whether to go with 6-inch or the 4-inch pipe. This is all 4-inch sewer and drain PVC. I don't think I actually said that. That's a very important dimension. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Having a system like this is awesome. If it's not easy to use, you won't use it. So having the blast gates right there, and I got switches around the shop to turn the dust collector on, it's awesome. Even when I cut a little piece of wood, I flip on the dust collector, and it makes such a big difference for your shop cleanliness, and I'm sure your lung cleanliness. Now, a big topic of debate is whether I have this system grounded or not. All of the research I've done across the wide expanses of the internet, it's basically split 50-50 either way as to whether that's actually an issue or not. I have chosen and am comfortable with the decision that this blower motor is grounded. All of my PVC is connected to that blower, thus is grounded. And I have yet to get shocked by this system. So as far as I'm concerned, that theory works, and again, I'm comfortable with it. If you're not and you think your safety is at work, absolutely ground your system. But this is what I've gone with, and it seems to work so far. I hope you guys enjoyed this Learn Logic video. If you did, please hammer that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button right over there if you're new here so you never miss when I upload a new video. If you got any ideas for questions that I should ask in the Learn Logic series, leave them in the comments down below, and I will definitely take a look at those. I'm DIYTyler. You guys have a good one.